I'm outside the Waltmore Theater, which is home to Chapman University's theater department. Recently, they've produced such shows as Trojan Women, Taming of the Shrew, and Bus Stop. But there's another group on campus that produces a slightly different fare. That's the Players Society. With Anna Roth and Jean Ferguson. They are the co-founders of the Players Society here at Chapman University. And Anna, you were the president this past year, right?
Yep.
So does TPS have any kind of mission statement, or what kind of shows does TPS typically tend to put on?
Well, the mission statement is to provide a creative outlet for majors and non-majors. So if, for example, you were a business major, but you were active in theater or in art in high school and you still wanted to continue that, the Players Society would be somewhere you could come and propose an idea that you have.
Right. What do you think is the difference between the kinds of shows that the theater department puts on and the kind of shows that TPS does?
I think the theater department doesn't have to worry about budget so much because they're well funded. So TPS, we kind of have to keep the shows that we do relatively simple, or else do them in a simpler way. Also, we don't really aim for stuff that we need to get the rights to. Sometimes that happens. For that black comedy, we got rights. For Dog Sees God, there was rights, but a lot of the time it's kids that write their own shows or bring in their friends' shows. I mean, obviously, Jeb and Jeremiah. And so I think that affords a lot more kind of just within the student community being able to foster each other's creativity, which is great. But the theater department, they're like going for big shows. They're going for, you know, like spectacles and stuff that'll bring people in and things that are a challenge, obviously. And it always turns out well. But TPS is exciting because when you have your friends bringing in shows, nobody's ever seen them before, so you get first crack at it, and that's just really, really thrilling.
Yeah. I'm here with Bouquet Fingerhut and Joe Piz. Bouquet, you just directed a musical at Chapman through TPS. It was Crazy Just Like Me, and you performed that at the Irvine Lecture Hall, like most of the other shows at TPS. How did you put on a musical in a lecture hall?
It was incredibly difficult. The most difficult aspect of it was the acoustics. The actors had to work with being loud while talking and then quiet while singing, and then there was the difficulty with the amp from the piano, like covering their singing and everything, and it was just like something that we had to work on a lot, and we had to use the talents of the audience using their imagination for a bunch of scenes, which played off pretty well, but we had to also work with the sets to cover up the classroom aspect of the room we were using. And there was a bunch of things, but I mean, it turned out great at the end.
Well, Stuck in the Middle employed a lot of, like, what I liked about there was technology in it. There were cell phones. That was a big portion of it. And a lot of times in theaters, you know, plays that are put on were written many, many decades ago. And then the plays that are put on now, you don't see, like, texting and stuff like that. And it's hard to imagine the theater department putting on a play like that. But TPS did. Why, like, what kind of shows do you think TPS puts on, and how did Stuck in the Middle fit into that?
I think TPS goes for a genre of shows that is relatable to its audience. It knows who its audience is, and not saying it's so secluded to the fact where you can't draw outsiders into the performances, but it definitely goes for kind of the more like guerrilla and grunge style where they put a lot of faith and trust in the actors and in the directors to kind of morph the show into what they feel it is. So I feel like a lot of different outlets don't give you that opportunity to put your own individual voice into a production. So I think through TPS, and especially with Stuck in the Middle, I was able to represent my generation, what's going on in my world, and what's going on in kind of like the society around me. So I thought that was a pretty awesome experience.
Yeah. I'm sitting here in the Irvine Lecture Hall where the Players Society produces most of its productions. And as you can see, there's no taking from it. It's definitely a classroom. But with some creativity and ingenuity, that's all you need to put on a great production.
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. but listen closely.
Not for very much longer.
I've got to keep control.